A citation that does not support the claim is worse than no citation, it creates false trust. This AiQualtest episode gives product, engineering, risk, and quality teams a practical, vendor-neutral playbook for Rag Citation Evals in 2026. Use a simple operating loop: retrieve, cite, verify, and fix. That loop keeps conversations concrete when stakeholders disagree about quality or risk. Why this matters: enterprises rely on citations for auditability and user trust. Citation evals check presence, relevance, and sufficiency of sources. They close the loop between retrieval quality and answer integrity. Enterprises shipping AI into banking, insurance, healthcare, and digital operations cannot rely on hallway demos. Buyers, auditors, and internal second-line risk partners ask for repeatable methods, version artifacts, and clear ownership. If you cannot explain how you tested and what evidence you keep, you do not have AI quality, you have optimism. Core concepts come next. Do not memorize jargon, operationalize each idea into cases, metrics, and gates. Concept 1: Citation presence. Require citations when claims depend on enterprise knowledge. Track missing cite rates. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 2: Citation relevance. Verify cited docs actually relate to the claim. Random nearby chunks do not count. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 3: Sufficiency. Check whether cited material is enough to justify the answer. Partial cites still fail. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 4: Stale sources. Detect citations to superseded policy versions. Freshness is part of quality. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 5: Oversicitation. Penalize dumping irrelevant sources to look thorough. Noise harms users. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Concept 6: UI fidelity. Ensure displayed citations match what the model used. Hidden mismatches break trust. In practice, treat this as a measurable property, define what good looks like, attach evidence, and track it across model, prompt, data, and tooling changes. Here is a real-world pattern. Setting: Hospital Policy Assistant for nurses referencing infection control SOPs. Citation eval showed answers citing outdated SOP versions after a policy refresh. Clinical education halted rollout. Indexing and version filters were fixed, and citation freshness became a gate. Nurses regained trust when UI cites matched current SOPs. Notice the pattern: define scope, run controlled tests, capture evidence, decide with named owners, and feed failures back into the next cycle. That is how AI quality becomes a system property, not a slide. Common mistakes slow mature programs. Mistake 1: Counting any URL or doc ID as a successful citation. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 2: Not checking that the site supports the specific claim. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 3: Ignoring superseded document versions in the index. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. Mistake 4: Showing different sources in UI than the model used. Teams that skip this create silent risk that surfaces in production or audits. The antidote is discipline, small goal sets, explicit thresholds, change control, and monitoring that connects production incidents back to evaluation suites. Key takeaways for your team. Takeaway 1: Evaluate presence, relevance, and sufficiency of citations. Takeaway 2: Track freshness of cited policy versions. Takeaway 3: Avoid citation spam. Takeaway 4: Keep UI citations faithful to model context. Write these into your team wiki and release checklist so they survive staffing changes. Your next steps this week: define citation requirements per intent class, must cite versus optional. Then, build a 50-case citation pack scoring presence, relevance, and freshness. Keep the artifacts, prompts, datasets, scores, approvals so you can defend the decision later. Where this fits the AiQualtest method, learn the foundations with AiVELabs, practice with hands-on cases, and validate with governed evaluation evidence. Visit aiqualtest.com and learn.aiqualtest.com. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for weekly AI quality, evaluation, and governance episodes. Additional depth for practitioners: treat Rag Citation Evals as a controlled experiment. Version the inputs, freeze the environment where possible, record who approved exceptions, and rerun after every material change, model upgrade, prompt edit, retrieval index refresh, or tool permission change. Pair quality metrics with latency, cost, and safety signals so trade-offs are visible to product owners. When results regress, open an incident-style review even if the feature still looks fine in a demo. Governed teams prefer boring, evidence-backed releases over surprising wins that cannot be reproduced.